Ladies and gentlemen, we've got some big news in regards to the Trump administration. Yesterday, it was reported that Bongino was taking the day off and that he was considering stepping down, possibly giving an internal ultimatum, and said basically, I'm either gone. If Bondi is not gone, Bondi needs to go. He is very angry. His reputation is being destroyed throughout this entire Epstein saga, and they're blaming Bondi, and it seems like they're trying to scapegoat Bondi. And now MAGA and people like Megyn Kelly are saying, well, Bondi needs to be gone. She's the one that ruined this. But the reality is, even if Bondi is gone, and we'll discuss the dynamics of that, a lot of people saying, well, Trump doesn't want to get rid of Bondi. And there's been reports that Bondi says she thinks she's doing a phenomenal job and she's very happy. That's what the internal people say. And there's also been the idea, well, maybe Patel will also resign. You've got Laura Loomer saying that Patel and Bongino are livid. She tends to be a lot more, hyped with everything. So I'm sure they're pretty angry, though. And there's been conflicting reports around what Patel is thinking of doing. But the narrative is that Bongino and Patel are threatening to resign if Bondi is not gone, which is curious because we saw both Patel and Bongino go on influencer podcasts within the previous month and try and basically set up exactly what happened, which was to try and brush the Epstein situation under the rug. Bongino went on podcasts, Patel went on Joe Rogan, and they downplayed the entire thing. Bongino said, we have the video, and it's turned out the video was edited by like Adobe Premiere. It's just insane. But it's like, he's like, oh, we have the video and this is what it is. And so they're both in this. And then I guess they're angry by the fact of Pam Bondi coming forward. And I mean, you would think they would sign off on this and they knew this was going to happen, that this was going to be released, that Epstein wasn't involved. But now, could it be possibly the base's reaction as to why Bongino and Patel are mad? I mean, you got to remember, Bongino was technically the biggest influencer within the Republican Party, according to numbers. Now, people say, well, all of his viewers were boomers when it came to Rumble and the viewership there, but he had like the number one viewership out of anyone. And any conservative on YouTube, any conservative on Rumble, he took a massive pay cut to serve Donald Trump. And he seems like he's very upset with the situation. He's trying to correct it. And would the correction be maybe making Bondi the fall guy and getting rid of Bondi and then releasing something? The issue is, anything you release as it pertains to Epstein is going to be seen as there's going to be a lot of skepticism because of the botched situations we've already had when it pertains to the Epstein releases. So they originally do the phase one. There's nothing new in the phase one. And that was on Bondi. They said Bondi messed this up. And then Bondi said, we've got everything. It's on my desk. We're reviewing it. And basically says, well, that didn't exist. And there's nothing there. And we need to move on. And then Trump says, well, we should move on. I don't know why people still care about it. There's other big things happening in the world right now, which only leads to the idea that it's being swept under the rug. Now, we can all speculate as to why, and a lot of people look forward and they say this is going to hurt Trump in the midterms. It was a big topic. I do think this needs to be addressed. I do think somebody needs to get to Trump that Trump will actually listen to, get in his ear and tell him, let's address this. Let's try and fix this. How much does Trump like Bondi? Apparently he likes her a lot. Will that potentially cause Trump to say, screw it, we're keeping Bondi, even if both Patel and Bongino want Bondi gone? I don't know. Is this an internal thing that can be resolved? Can somebody tell Trump, let's get rid of Bondi. Let's give them something on Epstein. Although now it would seem like it's a total cover-up if you say there's nothing there and then you release something in regards to it. I mean, you've got Epstein lawyers saying, yes, there's a client list. We just don't know. Some of the people involved could be innocent. And that's what Trump has said as well, in terms of, well, he's concerned about releasing lists because there's going to be people on there that are innocent, but they show up in the list and then people think they're guilty. And then people say, well, it's Trump. It's very unlikely to be Trump because liberals would have released something on Trump. We know that. But this could be a problem to where there's so many people implicated in this that it becomes a big issue in terms of national security and a lack of trust within the government and a problem for the U.S. economy, which would go back on the administration and hurt the administration. It's a multifaceted level. And then the biggest one is the United States and Israel, the collusion possibly Epstein working for Israel. I mean, Tucker Carlson is saying at an event, oh, yes, Epstein worked for Israel. I mean, this is mainstream now. And the connection with Les Wexner, pretty much everyone is saying it now. So you've got all this stuff. And so what does Trump do about this? Because there's really no great path to go. If you fire Bondi and then release things on Epstein, I guess blaming Bondi as to being the reason why stuff wasn't really, but Bondi does not have this control. Like, this is the thing. I'm trying to understand this, and maybe I just don't know the dynamics of the power structure when it comes to a director of FBI, a deputy to the director, and the attorney general. Is Bondi really in control of what is released as it relates to Epstein? I don't think anyone believes that. So we're going to sit here and blame Bondi, and we're going to do this exhibition where we go out and we say, Bondi's the real problem. This is like a governmental, widespread, multi-decade issue with Epstein that was swept under the rug under Biden. The only reason it's being brought up now is because the voters demanded it, the Republican voters. And so we're going to sit here and blame Bondi. And I think Bondi's a robot. I'm not a huge fan of Bondi. But just this exhibition to where somebody needs to be blamed and let's just pass the blame on to her, and if she gets removed, everything will be fine. It's still the same problem. It's still the cover-up. And people are not going to be satisfied with the result even if she is gone, but it'll be massaged over at least for the base, especially if Bongino is giving this ultimatum. Now, if Bongino leaves and Bondi stays, I'm sure Bongino will be very professional about it. But you have to wonder, what is he going to say? Because there's obviously some type of rift with Bongino and Bondi in terms of how this was handled. And what the thing is, this is what I can't compartmentalize. Patel and Bongino are getting everyone ready, doing these influencer podcasts saying, we're sorry, there's nothing there, we've looked over all of it. And then Bondi releases a memo saying, yeah, there's nothing there. And now they're angry at Bondi. So we're just trying to understand. I wonder if Bongino is just angry at the pushback that he's gotten on this. That's what it seems like to me. Because if you go for weeks and say, we have the security footage of him, he definitely killed himself, and then the footage comes out and it's a nothing burger and it doesn't even show directly at his cell, and there's minutes missing, and it's come out that it's edited by Adobe Premiere. But you're going to spout all the talking points weeks before. You see how inconsistent it is with Bongino, and also just what we've seen from Bongino and Patel before they go in, what they were saying about Epstein, versus after they get in. These are public statements they're making, consistently over months, trying to downplay anything with Epstein. And now they're real angry at Bondi. I think they're angry at the blowback, honestly. But look, it is maybe Bondi's got all this crazy control, and what she said was totally ill-advised, and she didn't have any list, and she just lied back in whenever it was, like March or February, when people were pressuring the release, and there was that terrible release. And I think that, people said it was her fault, that first release. It was poor communication on the phase 1 files with all the influencers, and they go waving it around and they look stupid. But if Bondi leaves, does that really resolve this? I don't think so. So we'll have to see. I mean, if Bondi goes and then they end up putting something out, I guess that would be better, but then you're admitting to a cover-up. So it's like, what do you do now? I guess we're going to have to see. Bondi has no intention of stepping down. You've got, can confirm it's Bongino or Bondi. Pick is obvious, Bondi must go. So the base is trying to massage it like, well, if Bondi is gone, this situation is resolved, at least to a degree. Now, a lot of them are being more like ironclad. We need the files. We need things released. And Trump still hasn't made a statement in response to that. The only thing Trump said was back on like Thursday when they asked him, and he said, people shouldn't make this a big deal. That's why everyone went crazy, because of his response. And we'll see if he has another response to the base. You would imagine there would be somebody that's telling him, hey, they're not taking this very well. You may need to tone it on the rhetoric and put something else out. Now, maybe he's at the point to where he doesn't care. And he'll just be like, well, they'll get over it. It's the news cycle. There'll be another thing in a day that people care about more. But the problem is, and look, we can talk about Republicans versus Democrats in the midterms. I think it doesn't affect it really at all. Now, the only talking point you have is, well, Trump said he would release them, which he did kind of. I think people are really overplaying this whole idea of, oh, Trump won because he said he was going to release the Epstein files. That's not at all. That was like the 90th thing down on the list when you look at the reasons and the issues in which Trump won the election. They're really trying to jazz it up because he's not living up to his promise that he was going to release, and so like, this is huge. Now, they're overplaying it to try and make Trump look bad. But the point is, when you look at the Democrats, and if they, I mean, there's no argument from the Democrats. The Democrats hid this for 4 years. Nobody talked about it. There was no pressure campaign. If these Democrats, if they cared so much about the victims that Trump is supposedly covering up, why did they allow Biden to cover it up and their administration uninterrupted? There was no debate. The only reason this is coming out is because there's pressure by the Republican base against Trump, and it's making Trump look bad. Right? These are Republicans doing this, pressuring Trump. We want to see the list. And it's a uniparty cover-up. And the same exact thing happened under the Democrats. The only reason there wasn't a bad moment for the Biden administration is because they didn't have to address it. So if Democrats want to sit there on a high and mighty horse and say, oh, look at Trump, he's covering up all these pedos, and what did the Biden administration do? Why didn't you guys demand anything? That was 4 straight years you were in power. You could have done stuff. And imagine if Trump was in them and you're not releasing anything on that. That's terrible. So I don't see where the Democrats' argument is outside of, oh, Trump didn't keep his campaign promise. Well, the Democrats, why didn't you guys pressure anything, as it pertains to Epstein? If you're so concerned and you're so worried about Trump covering up for people, what were the Democrats doing? And where was the pressure campaign from you guys to hold your own party accountable? Trump's approval rating is going down because of this, and it's caused by Republicans wanting to see the list. So that just goes to show you the double standard of the party. So I don't think this is a real issue in terms of the midterms, but it is a bad look for the administration. Absolutely. I've said it's a bad look for the administration. And I don't know what this is with Bongino getting angry at Bondi. I don't know the control that Bondi has in terms of what's released and what's not. This predates Bondi, the situation with Epstein. It predates all of these people. So it's a governmental thing, and it's multiple decades, and you're talking about implicating Mossad, you're talking about implicating the CIA, the FBI, and they would obviously rather it go away. And so the question is now, what do you do if you're Trump? Is there a right way to handle this? Because the cat's kind of out of the bag in terms of them saying there's nothing here. And that was what Patel and Bongino consistently said for months. And it seems like they realize they are getting drugged through the mud with all of these mainstream people. Now, I mean, Bongino and Patel have a lot of friends in conservative media. And so they've been probably pretty charitable to them, maybe less so to Bondi, which is why we're starting to see this turn. But it is true, Bondi was the one to initially report she had them on her desk, and then they release a memo saying they don't exist. And you could say, well, we were talking about something different. We were talking about the explicit videos that we can't share with people. But that's not what she made it seem like. She was like, we've got the client list, it's on my desk, and then it doesn't exist. Well, this is a big problem. And why would this be something that especially when you look at the video that they released and Bongino trying to hype that up and saying, well, I've seen everything and there's nothing there, and trying to be real down to earth with people and being like, this is just, I serve and this is the truth. I'm sorry. There's, it just, and now he's angry at Bondi. I don't know. They're going to have to do something. I don't know. Maybe they'll just try and let time resolve it. I'm not sure if that's going to work. I mean, it's still an open situation, I would say. They tried closing it. They just made it worse. They tried closing it with the memo. Now, is it a situation to where it's like, well, the base is dumb, they'll just pay attention to something else next week? I mean, that's what they tried to do with the Comey investigation, opening that up the next day, which everyone could see coming, and I would imagine it was probably a miscalculation in terms of the political sense, to where they thought that the Comey investigation would massage over them saying we're done with looking into Epstein and there's nothing there, which obviously it didn't do that. Nobody's talking about the Comey investigation that was announced. It was clearly announced as a distraction. Everyone within the base immediately diagnosed it as a distraction. It was the most obvious distraction ever. And nobody really cares about it right now because of Epstein. So they've got a problem. And is this a problem in terms of electoral wise? I don't think so. But I mean, this is a uniparty thing with the U.S. government. It's terrible. And I don't want to do this. It's Democrats, it's Republicans. It's the Biden administration not talking about this at all. And then basically Republican voters force Trump to address it. And the way in which he addresses it is, oh, let's stop paying attention to it. And they release some sham. And then why don't they talk to Bondi? What is going on with phase one, and what was the plan for phase two, and why was phase one stuff that was already declassified? And so what is it, is there an actual interview to where the question to Bondi is, where is phase two? Did phase two ever exist? I don't know. So, the point is Bondi wants to stay. Apparently Patel and Bongino want Bondi gone. Is there going to have to be a fall guy in all of this? Will it be Bongino? Will Bongino just leave because of the negative press he's getting? Because there's stuff going on behind the scenes that he's not allowed to talk about that's making him look bad, and it's going against his personal conscience? Is that where we're at with this situation? To where there's such a protection within the government and there's so many people involved that you can't go forward? I mean, there's been warnings by Trump and Dershowitz that, oh, there's people in these files, there's people in this list that are not actually guilty. It's going to ruin their lives. If there's so many people in this, it's going to be a bigger widespread issue. It's going to be a global catastrophe is what they say. Whether or not that's true and they're just covering themselves, we don't know. But it is a problem. And so we'll see where this leads with the administration. But yesterday it was like this big thing with MAGA and the base, and they're all turning on Bondi, and Bondi is like a robot. Bondi doesn't really have a big ego, and for an AG, you got to kind of be a hard ass. And some people have liked what Bondi's done. I think Trump certainly, it seems like, has always praised Bondi. There's been no hint of, and Trump is someone who will normally, he's not going to keep things in house. He's going to give you a hint that he doesn't like what you're doing, and there's been none of that from Trump, at least not up until now. And if I had to guess, based on what Trump has said previously, he'll say, I think Pam's done a great job, whenever he gets asked next about it, which I'm sure he will be because there's this infighting. But maybe not. Maybe someone will change his mind and they'll try and make Bondi the fall guy, or I guess the fall girl in all of this. I mean, it seems like the base, the MAGA base, the Megyn Kelly, these type of people, they're trying to make Bondi the fall guy. But does that really resolve the Epstein situation and what Bongino and Patel had said even before Bondi had made the memo public? I mean, this has to be okayed by them, you would think, if you're going to make a memo like this. They were massaging it into the base that there was nothing there on Epstein, and then Bondi released that there's nothing there on Epstein. So why are they angry? Seems like they're angry. They're getting pushback, and it's making them look bad, and it looks like a complete cover-up. Especially the inconsistency of Bongino and Patel's statements prior to entering versus where we are now, and now they're trying to make it a Bongino versus Bondi. Of course, Bongino is going to have more MAGA base support. Bongino had the biggest talk show in conservative media prior to leaving it. I mean, he left it and then his final show, and then the next day he's part of the administration, basically. So you're going to retain a lot of fans versus Bondi. And I'm not saying Bongino is worse than Bondi. I'm just saying it's not surprising that the base would side with Bongino over Bondi, considering the history of Bongino within conservative media. And on top of that, Bondi was the one that did either blatantly lied or covered up or whatever you want to say, messed up by saying that she had it all on her desk and then it doesn't exist. And she can try and say, well, it was something different. It's not that. I don't know how she's going to explain it away, but either way, it's not a good look. But guys, make sure you like the video down below. Also follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.